When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
In Touch Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers who are responsible for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Woo! Yes, y'all. This is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. What it do? My partner in crime, Mr. Kevin Carr, Mr. Career crossover in the house. What it do, Mr. Kevin Carr?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Awesome.
Loud and clear.
Awesome. It's good to be here. Good to be back. Good to be seen. And good to see you.
Yes, sir. What's going on in the world of sports, man?
Well, baseball is on the rise. They're trying to get to the end here, the season with the playoffs. The tourneys starting for baseball. I love it. I'm not sure if a lot of people are baseball folks. You a baseball guy, man? You a baseball?
I'm a Yankees guy, period.
Period. All right.
We coming up, baby. We coming up from behind, baby.
Yep.
People are writing this off, and we doing our thing, baby. We swept them Sox in Fenway. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about with the NBA. Media Day was yesterday. I think a lot of breakthroughs are expected for some teams. I heard just from the vine that there's a repeat supposedly going to happen. MVP Giannis, and perhaps once again the championship goes back to the cheese country. Milwaukee.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, you don't think it wasn't a fluke, or was it a fluke? Come on, man. Really?
Let me say this, man. It wasn't a fluke.
People, listen, take some notes.
It wasn't a fluke because they definitely worked their butt off. However, all it took was that foot on that line, bro. That foot on that line changed the course of everything with the Brooklyn Nets. So, it's going to be interesting because there's some controversy with this whole vaccine thing and Kyrie now.
Yeah. Everybody should know that there's differences of opinion. We've seen some of the elder statesmen of the NBA's past. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was on talking about players should be vaccinated. And then obviously current players are like, hey, it is my right to take the position that I have, and it shouldn't be limiting me to be able to do my job. So more to be seen. We're not quite at that deadline. But it certainly is going to be interesting to see how the league handles this. Obviously, basketball, definitely very physical. But at the same time, what are they saying in other sports like, UFC? What's the policy there? What's, the other avenues in which sport is being done? We're not hearing as much, but as soon as the NBA, wow, these players, this and that. So it's really looked at a little differently. I'm hoping that they get to some resolution here. I think there are probably going to be more players coming forward later, and there'll probably be some that'll speak out as well and say, hey, man, what's the big deal? You going to ball or not? So we're going to see perhaps some statements come from the unions, et cetera, of all the leagues on where they stand with this. So it's going to be interesting. We've seen football have to reach a certain threshold and number of players on the team. That might be something NBA might have to think about as a compromise that, like, I think NFL is like 78, 80% of the team has to be vaccinated. Then you can, come on the field in terms of workouts, teams. That's what they established earlier this season. So I don't know if the NBA is going to get there, but that's up me, man. What's going on in the world of entertainment? And we got our guest, which we'll be bringing on shortly.
Well, in the world of entertainment, there's a lot going on.
And Joel, can you speak up a little, man? It's not as crispy as we generally have with you, so we just want to make sure we get that baritone in the building.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
It's still a little faint. We trying to get there, DJ Anna. Can we get a little help on the ones and twos and the sound? I don't know what you can do from the booth or the virtual booth.
How we doing now?
All right, I'm thinking you're gonna have to take a little technical break at some point. We can hear you. You're fine. It's just not resonating as much as in the past. But it's all right.
It's not as crispy. All right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, not right now. You good? We can hear you. So what's going on?
But in the world of entertainment, let's see. CAA is buying ICM.
Oh, is that right?
So that's a major.
So yeah, I was gonna say, what's the major
deal? About? So the CAA is the Creative Arts Agency, and ICM, I forgot, International Creative Management, I believe. They are a smaller boutique agency firm, and CAA is the big conglomerate, and so they're buying them. So now there's going to be just pretty much two major agencies that represent Hollywood actors, writers, actors, producers, directors in Hollywood, which is huge because now there's only two games in town, which in my opinion, we got to be careful of that because when it comes down to taking care of their constituents, which is their clients, they're going to focus on the megastars, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. So stay tuned on that. On some sour note, though, Andrea Martin, a singer-songwriter, just recently passed away at the age of 49. I mean, that's I've known her working with a couple of producer friends of mine, Troy Patterson, who's handled Angie Martin, Angie Stone and Mario and Rough Ends, and she just recently passed away. So sad news on that. Another one of my close friends in the music industry, his father just passed away at the age of 85. His father was the first Black bank president in the United States, as well as his great grandfather. The guy's name is Slim Pickens, as what we know him. But his father's name is William Pickens III. His grandfather was the gentleman that helped create the NAACP, and was monumental in creating a library at Yale University. So he's the first Black professor at Yale University. Very prolific writer. Took his family from Nebraska, I believe, and then brought them back all the way to New York. In addition to that, William Pickens III family lineage is also affiliated with the let's see, I believe it is their last name, Montier. That's right, Montier in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. They were the first Black free slaves that owned their own land because they were, crossbred with the original mayor of that town in Pennsylvania. So, condolences to my brother and his family, the Pickens family, as they go through this. And then in the world of music, man, Busta Rhymes is still doing his thing, doing some shows. The Fugees did their 25th anniversary tour. That's huge because Lauryn Hill is back. So the world of music is picking up. Streaming revenue is off the chain. So we just got to figure out how our other forms of income can be created through this. Yeah. So on that note,
yes, sir.
And we'll be talking about music and hip hop and folks, the person that we have here today has earned his Bachelor of Science degree in sports management at the University of New Haven. I have several friends that went to New Haven, so that's pretty awesome. As a former player, he has He's been part of the Division All-Star game, Division I versus Division II. Honorable mention pick for University of New Haven's University men's basketball most valuable player in 2000 and 2001. In addition to that, he has worked for a nonprofit where he's focused on youth opportunity investments as a program director, helping create seminars for 80 plus employees, led the facility's performance quality improvement initiatives, and focused on behavioral and social performance of 60 juvenile offenders. He has over 10 years of educational, behavioral, and leadership experience. And he is also a published author turned screenwriter and producer known for such literary works as Biopic, Cream, Cash Rules, Everything Around Me, Baby, that chronicles the life of legendary Wu-Tang Clan member Raekwon, the chef, Purple Tape, Baby. In 2013, Washington also wrote American biographical sports drama Legend 25, documenting the life and times of the slain basketball hoops legend Benji Wilson. This guy, they were talking about, this guy was like LeBron before LeBron. Mm-hmm. His most recent work includes working as a consultant on Amazon's sports documentary film Man-Child, A Dream Deferred, based off the life of basketball prodigy Shea Cotton. He has worked with Damon Dash, Raekwon, Wood Harris, and many, many more. Let's welcome to the show, Power Moves, Mr. Sam Washington. What it do, baby? What it do?
What's going on, guys, man? Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys for having me on. This is an amazing platform. Just happy to be a part of it, man.
Man, it's good to see you. You shouldn't be so modest, man. Just like we're in our conversations in the past. Let me lay it out for you all. We're gonna take a break in about 4 minutes, but we'll be real quick. My connection with Samant really is through the power of relationships. This show is about power moves and how people have made moves. And one of the things I think is just the fact how we got connected. We both know a fine gentleman named Mr. Joe Charles. Joe is a leader in itself. We need to have him on the show too, because he's a former player turned senior vice president of one of the biggest insurance brokering companies in the country, and he's a partner. So that's an amazing transition himself. But Samant brings, a unique ability. Just his likability is so high, despite, him being, I think, an old soul because he's fairly young. Samant, just think about how you made your connection with Joe and myself. What are some of the beginning things that you would share with anybody about establishing relationships with people that you don't know and you're trying to get somewhere in your career? What was it about connecting with Joe and myself that you thought was interesting? You got just a short 2 minutes on that one.
Well, I think that, initially, I met Joe years ago. I'm 42 now, but I met Joe as a young man. And he just, taught me. He was a great mentor in teaching me the power of networking. And one of those first initial tests was going to Portsmouth. And I remember him giving me a call and saying, listen, if you want to be in this game, you need to be down here by 7 p.m. And I drove from Staten Island at the time, to Virginia. And threw me right in the fire, man. And, just started to network and understand the power of networking. And everybody who was somebody in the basketball space was there. So, I was able to develop that confidence, and I kind of transitioned into everything that I did moving forward in terms of understanding how relationships work and understanding culture and people, et cetera. So the connection between Joe and I ultimately led to me meeting Kevin Carr and just figuring out where the synergy was and where the opportunity lies and how we could be of service to each other. And that's kind of where we are, currently right now.
Awesome. So we got probably 1 minute left. There goes the countdown. 1 minute left. So with that being said, we need to go on break. I know we have a minute left and stuff, so it only makes sense for us to get on break now as opposed to trying to go into a topic and then get cut off. So once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We here with Mr. Sam Washington, the man, the myth, the legend, network prowess. Can't wait to talk about passion and how you make things happen. Once again, Power Moves on In Touch Radio, reality radio where everyone is a star. Go do what you do, Bezel.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and during the week, I'm affectionately known as the Medicare lady. Do not try to navigate Medicare without me. Please call me at 813-476-4837. I also do life insurance, and I will help people who are Medicare, Medicaid. Once again, 813-476-4837. 4837.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Catch my show that will be all up in your business. Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Cousteau. Every Wednesday at 12:31 p.m. My business experts provide insight for business entities and entrepreneurs. So join us every Wednesday from 12:31 p.m. to 1:31 p.m. at www.intouchnews.com. Catch my show.
All right, we are back. This is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Kevin, set it off, baby.
Yeah, no doubt. So we talk about passion today. That's one of the 9 medallions that I have as a coach and professional developer of people and organizations, trying to create transformation. And within that, the passion medallion is one that I think is one of the essentials of how do you get to where you want to be in your career and in your life. And I want to take you back before you go forward, all right? So just go back in time with me. You were a young baller, you were doing your thing, and you were able to get a scholarship to college. A lot of parents want their kids to have that. I have several kids that are in that space, but parents can want it all they want, right? They can want it all they want, but it's really up to the individual. The passion medallion I try to teach after watching a lot of athletes do what they do is, it's the drive to pursue what you desire most and realize it's non-negotiable to give up on your dream or your cause or circumstance because you put time and risk in it, right? And, it's like the determination to love it, to spend time with it. And that's what matters most. And it really is reflective of what's in your soul that drives you to be all you can be. So with that being said, how did you know? This is my question. I'm getting to it. I know y'all saying it took a long way, Kat.
Sorry.
How did you know you had the passion for basketball? And when did it hit you that you knew you could ball?
Oh, great question. So initially, I believe like most kids from that era in the 90s, when I first saw, Michael Jordan, I was amazed, had no idea how I can get there or, develop as a basketball player. Just knew that was something that I was interested in doing. Much different from now. I grew up in a culture where it was just about playing every day, outside rec centers, just playing a ton of basketball, local gyms. So, I kind of got into that habit, initially and just falling in love with the game, just playing everywhere around the city in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And, ironically, trying out for my middle school team, I got cut. So I learned very, very early how the importance of, going through adverse situations. So what we don't realize, I think, as a culture, whether it's, sports or entertainment, is that in order for you to achieve success, you have to go through hardship. In order for you to, achieve happiness, you have to go through pain. In order for you to achieve peace, you have to go through war. So, once I went through those experiences, it developed somewhat of a burning desire. When I got cut, I came back the following year as an eighth grader, made the team, and that passion was developed there. And there was a couple older guys in the city, and I was hearing these things about, guys going to school. I didn't really know what a scholarship was then, but, I started hearing about guys going to school for free playing basketball, and then really started to kind of watch Big East basketball and started to, to make the connection that, wow, this is something that I can do and I can go to school for free. And at the time I knew, my parents couldn't afford to pay for college. So I said, I wanted to use basketball and academics as a vehicle to get to school. So I would say that's where the passion was developed, man, just falling in love with the game.
That's the way to be. That's the way to be. Gotta have that passion. So with that being said, how did you allow this passion to have you shift from basketball to screenwriting?
Wow, that's another great question. Very interesting story. So when I got out of school, I graduated, around September 11th. So jobs were scarce. Just figuring out, wanted to figure out a way. But one thing I knew, I had older mentors, an older brother, and he always talked about having universal skill sets that were transferable. So just started looking into different opportunities. Wanted to be an agent, but ended up, working, at school, at my high school. Went back to my high school, started teaching, coaching. And as Kevin mentioned earlier, my mentor, Joe Charles, I came to him with this idea. I said, I read this book when I was younger on this young man, Ben Wilson from Chicago, who was the #1 player in the country, who was killed. And I said, I think this will be a great story. I have no idea how to put the pieces together, but I know I really want to do this story. And I knew he knew people in the entertainment space. So, I just, wanted his advice on how he can guide me in figuring it out. And, of course, getting it into production. So he knew some executives in the film space. I thought initially he was going to do the talking, because to me, he was a bigwig in the business space. And, that was my first lesson in understanding the power of presentation. I think I was like, 22, 23. And we had our first meeting with the film executive. And he was like, you're doing all the talking. And I was like, what? But thank God he kind of threw me in the fire. It worked out well. I ended up, articulating things the right way. And, one thing led to another. And the executive recommended that we needed to secure the rights for the film, and we needed to develop a screenplay. I had no experience with screenwriting outside traditional essays and things of that nature and writing. So once that happened, I started interviewing writers. And I'm working on a teacher salary, maybe making $40,000 a year, and I'm interviewing these writers and meeting with attorneys, and they're saying $500 an hour and $25,000 for this script and $30,000 for this script. And I'm like, there's no way I can pay for a $30,000 script from making $40,000. So I said to myself, the best way, to learn is, learn on the fly and try to figure it out and learn on your own and write it yourself. And, so Joe had some additional people that he knew in the film space that, were screenwriters, and, he set up some meetings with them. The framing of it, the initial understanding of how you write, I got that stuff from them, started doing research, started reading books on screenwriting, and then, it started to make sense and it started to come, together. And that's how I initially got into screenwriting. So my first draft was, terrible. But, to achieve a certain level of, I don't want to use the word grace or proficiency, rather, to achieve a certain level of proficiency, it takes hours and hours of refining your skill. And, it took me, ultimately I've been writing, for 15 plus years now. So many failed scripts, many, hours of writing, of, not eating, 8-hour, 9-hour days writing. And eventually and conceptually, I started to understand how it works. Just how to frame a story, act one, how should act one to, I should act one, how should act two, story arcs, character development. I started to understand a lot of those things, and then, ultimately cultivated into, a screenwriting career.
That's so interesting. And can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what's interesting is two things. This film, if you haven't seen it, it's wonderful, the story, and it's tragic about Benji. How did you know or come to know how to write about someone? Because you didn't know him, right? You didn't.
I didn't know him at all.
Yeah. How did you do that? Because a lot of people have, they want to achieve power. They want to achieve something great. You were able to do that with this, because I really thought that was a really good 30. Joel, you know what I'm talking about, the 30 for 30.
Yeah, 30 for 30.
It was excellent. I thought it was a very good one. Years later, I still can kind of recall it. So how did you find something like that and make it work for you and get your power out of that? Like, how did you find that?
All right, so first I want to, the 30 for 30, I didn't do, but those guys did an awesome job. The gentleman who actually directed the piece. So I was hired because the family wanted to do a film, a narrative. So I was hired by the family to write the narrative. The narrative, never went into production.
Right.
It was a great piece for me in terms of honing my skill in the biopic space, and that's how I did falling in love with the biopics, which I'm currently, working on, some as we speak. So with the Bill Wilson piece, just being very, very ambitious and always taking, the initiative. I was actually in a barbershop, and I met a gentleman who was from Chicago, and I knew the Harold Washington Library was my primary resource for finding information. And, when I met this guy in the barbershop, I was just explaining, there's a film that I'm interested in doing on this guy, Ben Wilson. Are you familiar with him? And he was kind of like, everybody in Chicago, knows who Ben Wilson is. And I was like, I'm trying to, go to the Harold Washington Library, get some research. Do you know anything about this story, or do you know of anyone that can, that will be willing to share any information on Ben Wilson? And coincidentally, he had a classmate who played at the same high school, who was the first guy to wear Benji's number out of retirement. So he knew everything about Ben Wilson, about the school, about the culture, about the neighborhood, and coincidentally, he knew the family. And so I took the initiative. I put a whole PowerPoint together, all the things I could find. I ordered, the Ben book, the book that his mother wrote, To Benji with Love. Ordered the book, snatched some pictures off the internet, grabbed the Nike commercial that they did on Ben Wilson years ago, and I put, and this was, my skill set at the time, PowerPoint. That's how I knew how to do presentations. So I put it into a presentation. The gentleman I met in the barbershop, coincidentally, he was a manager at a Marriott in New Jersey. And I asked, could I use this conference room? I said, listen, the gentleman that you know from Chicago, if we fly him out here, if I flew him out here, would you be willing to lend me the conference room so I can do the presentation on Ben Wilson? If he likes the presentation, I would like for him to go to the family and just communicate to them that, I want to, help them on that journey in terms of developing this film. Gentleman flew out here, did the presentation, fell in love with the presentation. He went back to the family, spoke to the brother. He said, there's this kid in New Jersey, man, who has a passion for your brother's story, man. And I think, this is somebody that you want to meet. And he connected me with the brother. I flew out to Chicago, and that's when the development of the project started.
Oh, man.
That's a beautiful story. That's a power move right there.
No doubt.
Just connecting the dots, leveraging the hotel to get them the room, to do a nice little professional looking presentation.
and don't forget the researcher. I mean, pulling all these different pieces. A lot of people are not willing to do their homework, the backstory, as they call it. So, man, we're about at the time for break. Take us into the break, Joel.
That's right. We got 20 seconds left. So here's how it goes, baby. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. Also, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. This is Joel Sylvain with my main man, Mr. Career Crossover, Kevin Carr, is the place to be.
All right.
We'll see you after the break.
All right. We'll be back.
So believe we 100 down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking kids scared of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown 184-361 Rick. That's 184-361-7425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361 Rick. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. Legal and medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
All right, we back. This is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Sam Washington, screenwriter and coach for the youth them.
Now let's also not forget, you are an educator, you are a teacher, you did a lot of great work, and it's should be commended. We don't always find our teachers and give them their props. So thanks for being in that space as a young professional teaching. I want to kind of talk to the part of earning respect. How did you get respect in the industry of film? It is very hard, as we know. We've seen some major breakthroughs with different directors and writers. Shonda Rhimes, etc., is a great exception. But I want to talk from your seat. Take us back to how did you develop writing? Like, that is, like, to some degree, a lost art these days. And if we could kind of tap into why was writing so essential for you? Why do you think it's still so essential in this day and age of content?
Well, I think that, with writing is a skill set that's needed by everyone. It's transferable. It always can be beneficial, whether it's professionally or personally. So, I kind of always knew that. I didn't know what I was being groomed for as a young man. I remember as a kid watching Matty Rich's Straight Outta Brooklyn, and I was just so amazed that a kid 16 years old at the time was able to have a major motion picture
and let me interrupt you. I forgot that our host is a Brooklynite, so he loves the fact that you
that's right. You shout out my Matty Rich, baby. Yes, sir.
So
Brooklyn's in the house,
no doubt.
So I owe a lot to Matty Rich in that regard. So being a kid, I think I was maybe 12, if my memory serves me correct, 11 or 12, and I remember the preparation for the film, him raising money, him acquiring certain credit cards, raising finance for the film. I was just so intrigued by it, and I remember at the time, whole summer, and at the time, I think Boys in the Hood was out, straight out of Brooklyn, Minister Society, and they really touched on culturally what was going on in the inner city, and I was just intrigued by it, and I would just watch these films over and over and over. And my stepmother was like, "You don't want to go outside and play?" I was like, I want to watch this again. And now I realize that I'm older, I was actually falling in love with film. So, one of the things I tell parents sometimes, because they say, it depends on what your kids are watching, but, I don't think parents should be so quick to say, get away from that TV. Of course you want them to do other things, but you don't know how they're assessing film or, what they're actually looking at. So being inquisitive and finding out what your kids are doing. So that's where I think the love initially was created, man, with film. And, as I got older, I was always into like creative writing and poetry and things of that nature. But once I started getting into screenwriting, I wrote a book initially because when I was teaching, I wanted to improve literacy in the inner city. So when I was working as a special education teacher and a crisis intervention specialist, a lot of kids, they weren't intrigued by, reading. And it wasn't because they didn't have the capability. They didn't have any stories that they can identify with. So I wanted to create a story, a narrative with a storyline that's something that they could connect to, a story that they were familiar with, an inner city kid that was going through some of the same atrocities and experiences that they were going to. Now, the book didn't do great, but it served its purpose in terms of getting in certain schools and, giving me a platform to talk, to children about how important literacy was. And that, further led to, me falling in love with, screenwriting. So once I started with the Ben Wilson project and really, enjoying the process, good, bad, and different, I just had a resilient, personality in terms of like, I got to keep this thing going, and I want to try to master this thing. And it's funny because even now, 15 years in, I'm still learning new things, every day about screenwriting, and it's ever evolving. So I would say that love started with, even though I wasn't writing, but the love and passion for film definitely started with straight out of Brooklyn, and it just morphed into screenwriting years later, man.
What's interesting is, so how did you generate income from a career in which you had guaranteed income to now a career that's pretty much non-guaranteed, right? Like it's variable, right? So could you explain to folks how do you kind of do that transition and the courage to make that transition, right? Because a lot of people have their 9 to 5s and they're like, man, I want to do this, I want to do screenwriting, or I want to I want to be a rapper or whatever. I want whatever. Or I want to be an entrepreneur. And then they're just scared because they don't want to lose that check every week or every 2 weeks or bi-monthly.
So, and another great question. So one of the things I tell people all the time is that, so with teaching for me, you may not initially, have the opportunity to go directly into, what you're passionate about. But if you're going to work a 9 to 5, try to have an occupation where some of those skill sets that you can develop, that you're developing, they're transferable to whatever your passion is. So I knew my target audience was going to always be children, so that was a plus for me. I knew I was going to have the platform to present in front of people, whether it was in a staff meeting or me just talking to, my kids. I knew I was going to have the ability to write and develop lesson plans and stories, et cetera. And, in most cases, I was a language arts teacher. So I was continuing to refine those skills in language arts. So those skills were all transferable relating to screenwriting. So, it was just something that, I continued to do. the way that it I was able to develop revenue in the film space was I had to find out. Initially, I was just a writer, and that kind of put me in a box. You know, initially going into that industry, I was just like, I want to be a writer, but there were a ton of writers, and not having any huge attorney behind you at the time, or having some huge celebrity behind you to push you, I was saying, well, what is some of the things that I could bring to the table outside of writing? So I started building my business acumen, learning about business and how it works, and raising finance for films, and how I can be a liaison, and so after speaking to a couple of my friends in the industry, I stopped saying that I was a writer and started to say, I'm a creative executive, which covers a multitude of different things in terms of having the ability to be a consultant, having the ability to raise finance, having the ability to write and develop, be a curator. So that's what I consider myself now. And I think once you have a multitude of different skill sets, it enables you to create, different forms of revenue. So for me, if I'm working in a consultant capacity, someone will pay me. If I'm writing a treatment for a network, or I'm writing a screenplay, I'll be paid for those services as well. So that's kind of, enhancing your skill sets, and bringing things to the table that aren't average, enabled me to create revenue, in that space. So that's something that has worked for me recently. And also you have to have, I call it something catchy that's outside of what they see. So, when I'm working with a network, I want to be a one-stop shop for everything. So initially, if they're doing a film, you have to do a treatment first, or a deck. They're going to need a screenwriter. They're going to need producers. They're going to need financing. So coming to the table, I try to insulate myself and bring a lot of those things to every project I'm doing. So let's say if I have a certain actor in mind, I may go out and develop a relationship with the actor, and then come to the table and come to the network and say, listen, I have so-and-so already attached to the project. I wrote the film. It just adds value to what you're doing. They understand that you're resourceful, you know how to network, and you know how to connect the dots. And those things definitely enable you to further your career a lot more quickly.
Now that's a power move tip right there.
Absolutely. Getting to know people, putting out, consistency. And one of the things I heard were, you're making money. So knowing the industry today, where is the money at in the kind of work that you do? There are a lot of people say, I want to write. I have this script. I have this idea. I have this concept. Mm-hmm. If you were to give a short little, say, hey, these are lanes where people who do what I do have been able to earn some levels of income, may not be as consistent as yours, but where are those? Where do they lie? Can you speak on that a little bit just to help people out?
Absolutely. So there are a multitude of revenue streams that are associated with film. Of course, you have film, you have music, soundtrack opportunities, you have merchandising, ticket sales, associated with theater, streaming. Just figuring out, what works for you and what capacity do you want to work in. For me, I knew that with screenwriting, there weren't a lot of African-American young writers. And I've heard this from quite a few networks. So I knew it was a market that wasn't saturated. So I'm like, this is a great opportunity. I have the ability to write. I've always been very, very creative. So let me kind of step into this arena and see what it's about. And, there's no distinguishing quality that I would say that I had that, was great. I just didn't quit. I just didn't stop, so it was just like 1,000 doors have been slammed in my face. There was 1,000 no's, but it's a long-term game. It's a resilience game. It's the fourth quarter. The industry is the fourth quarter. It's like, what are you gonna do when you're down 30? Are you gonna fold and say the game is over? Or are you gonna keep going? So just having that skill set to say, listen, you gotta keep going. You gotta, even when they say no, understanding what you're being built for. So I tell people all the time, like even when I do motivational speaking or when I'm talking to kids or I'm doing professional development, is that we put such a large emphasis on the things that don't happen for us, not understanding that once the breakthrough happens, it's no longer a failure. You can chart it to just it being experience. So once I understood that, I started to embrace all my shortcomings and all my failures and realize this is all a part of the experience. This is all a part of the growth. So the no's, eventually, if you put in the work on the front end, they'll eventually, turn to the yeses. So, like I said, just understanding marketing and branding, but also I do a lot of research. Like one of the people that, I love to listen to is Steve Stout. So just understanding, branding and marketing. I learned a lot just from, if you utilize a computer the right way, it's a resource.
Hey, so. and let's stop right there because we got to pay some bills here. But I want to get into who do you follow? Who do you listen to? Who do you?
Outside of Kevin Clark.
Okay.
Word. So we're gonna have to jump into that right after the break.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, how they earn respect with Sam Washington. Yeah, we're gonna definitely follow up with Steve Stout. And now is in the music business, and he did some things, and he used to be around the way at 34 Park. So once again, In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. See you after the break.
All right, we're back.
Cancer affects everyone, but minority populations are often hit hardest. Moffitt Cancer Center is working to address the barriers that keep some groups from getting the care they need. African Americans develop cancer at a younger age, have more aggressive cancers, and experience worse outcomes than the general population.
While cancer treatment is evolving with precision medicine, who is being left behind? We know for many decades that some groups experience a greater burden of cancer than others. We can prevent it, we can detect it early. It's very beatable when we find it early. I have worked with cancer patients during their treatment. All cancer patients have courage.
So my treatment was about 18 months. I had 3 cancers and 7 surgeries. But my son told me, like, Mom, you're the strongest person that I know. Moffitt saved my life.
During COVID-19, Moffitt is a safe place for your cancer care. Call now to schedule an appointment.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
All right, we back. Short break. This is what we doing, baby. In Touch Radio, and this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Before the break, Kevin Carr had mentioned, who do you follow, Sam? You had mentioned Steve Stout and his marketing prowess. I mean, he went from, being a person that was more or less a manager and an artist development type of person with his relationships with Kid and Play, and then Nas, and then doing that partnership with Jay-Z, to being that mogul that he is today. Who else are you modeling? I like that question, Kev.
So there's so many, but definitely Steve Stout. I'm a huge fan of Pharrell. In terms of what he's done in the music space, clothing space, in the film space. Of course, the Jay-Z's. There's some gentlemen. They have the Earn Your Leisure podcast.
Yeah. You talking about Rashad?
Yeah,
Rashad and Troy Millen. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Ryan Leslie and what he's done in the
Leslie
investment space. I actually spoke to him a couple of days ago in regards to investing. So we had a very short but very in-depth conversation in regards to investing. So he's doing a lot of great things. But just try to study the greats, man, and not just the greats of current time, but the Miles Davises, the Muhammad Ali's, just understanding what made those guys go. And I think once you understand formulas and what makes certain people work, you're able to extract certain things that you can utilize, in your everyday life or your professional life. So that's what I do. I study, a lot of people. Like when you look at musicians, you look at certain guys like Miles Davis, and Marvin Gaye, guys who had a ton of issues outside of the music, but at their most trying times, they made their greatest music. So we all go through adversity. We all go through adverse situations. So as a writer, I had to learn that skill set when I'm going through things in my personal life. How do I still operate proficiently as a writer? And this is all from studying people.
Yeah, so that's a great question, because it came across my mind. We're talking about the glamour, the glitz, the sexy, the amazing, work you get to do. But I imagine it's a grind. I imagine it's more descriptive. It's grimy, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Where are the challenges in this business? In terms of ownership and making sure that you get paid, making sure your ideal isn't taken, and I'm not sure if you're comfortable, but where have you had a setback, and how did you overcome it? As a result, how did you become still the emerging leader that you are coming up in this space?
So I mean, I've had a ton of scripts that didn't make it to the light of day. That were, huge projects. But like I said, just having that internal fortitude to keep going. It's understanding, the laws and averages and numbers, So let's say in theory, you do, 15 projects a year, creatively. I mean, you may be lucky to get 2 or 3 or maybe 1 into production. So understanding those odds, I knew that I had to do more things in volume, because initially when I started, I was writing like 1 or 2 projects a year, and I was like pissed off that they weren't going anywhere. And then I remember meeting a gentleman from LA, and he was friends with a guy by the name of Mark Brown, who wrote How to Be a Player in Barbershop. And he said when he went over this guy's house, I mean, he had like hundreds of scripts like falling out of the closet. And that was like my first lesson in terms of understanding volume. Like, dude, you're not even in the game. Like, you're doing 1 or 2 projects a year. So then I just started to ramp up the projects that I was doing, even if they were ideas. And one of the things I preach to people is that whatever it is that you choose or what your passion is, you have to be absorbed in it. So every day of my life was
absorbed. That's a great word, absorbed. Are you soaking it up? Are you all the way in? Not on dipping your big toe in there. Are you immersed? Go ahead.
I mean, there's times when I'm in the shower where, I'm talking to myself as characters, and that's dialogue, or I'm writing notes in my iPhone, or, I have, right here next to me, I have screenplays from other writers that, I'm studying, and I'm in the process of, writing, a biopic currently, so every day, whether small or large, something should be attributed to your passion. If you are an athlete, whether that's lifting weights, whether that's studying film, whether that's going to shoot jump shots, throwing football, hitting balls if you're a baseball player, shadow boxing if you're, a boxer, something should be attributed to your passion every day. Otherwise, is it truly your passion? You have to ask yourself.
Bang, bang. That's what I'm talking about. So, another question I have for you then, because you asked the setback question, which was good, Kevin, because I was getting ready to ask that. How did it feel when you closed your first deal? And if you were to advise someone to do the same, what would you tell them to do? And what were the mistakes that you made that you would tell them not to do?
It was overwhelming. It was over. I was very well. It took years, and I was just having this conversation with someone previously, and I'm going to get back to your question. Is that what we have to understand culturally is that most successful, just by design in history, most successful entrepreneurs and businessmen, they hit that stride like early 40s. So 20 to 30 is kind of like trial and error. The 30s, you start achieving some sort of success, figuring it out. And then 40, you kind of get off the runway and start taking off. So for me, I understand that, my career was right on time, because I wanted it in my 20s, of course, like everybody else, and, in the 30s as well. But I understand now that, I was refining my skill all that time. And, maybe I wasn't mature enough to handle those things in the 20s or in the 30s. But I think that all the setbacks that I had, all the things that I experienced, I went to, it made me ready for it when the deal did happen, So it was overwhelming, when I got the call from the network and it was saying, are you interested in writing for the network? And I was like, wow, really? Like, you want me to write for you guys? So it was overwhelming, man. I mean, like tears, it was tears in my eyes, man, because, I understood like how much work went into getting to this point. So it was very, very fulfilling. And, I was extremely, extremely proud of the strides that I took in the industry. But, overcoming the setbacks is just, like I said, I understand now that that's a part of the process. If you find me a CEO, I'll find you a CEO that failed. Everyone, no matter whether they're a 100,000-aire or they're a billionaire, everyone is going to go through a certain hardship. Everyone are going to have certain failures. It's, that's part of the experience. That's part of the grind. But, you got to sacrifice who you are today for who you want to become tomorrow. And I try to live by, conceptually by that concept,
Ooh, that's a quotable right there. That's a quotable right there.
What was it? Break it down again. Give it to us.
Sacrifice who you are today for who you want to be tomorrow. So what are you willing to give up? Like, for example, like most guys my age like to go out. Like, I don't really go out. A lot of my time is attributed to writing and developing and creating. Right before I talked to you guys, I was on a conference call, in regards to film. I fly out of, California tomorrow. I'm right back to writing, 8-hour days. I have a timeline to meet October 25th. I have to develop a first draft. And then right after that, I take like a day off. Then I'm right back into writing another project. So what are you chasing? For me, I'm chasing legacy. When it's all said and done, when I'm put in the ground, I understand literary works, music, your impression on this earth, those things will long outlast you. So, you have to work to create that energy around those things. And, if you do things the right way on the front end, the energy will, the way the earth moves and the way energy moves, it will get out the way for you. If you put the work in on the front end. But if you quit, pain is temporary. If you quit, it's gonna last forever. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a gentleman, what is his name? He's a motivational speaker that I listen to. Eric Thomas.
E.T.
He says, don't cry to give up, cry to keep going. So understanding how to utilize your energy. I take the good with the bad, I take the bumps, So, I know it's not going to be easy. There's times that I want to go out. There's times that I want to take off. There's times that I want to go to sleep. I'm human, but when I look on the other side and I understand the importance of my legacy and what I want to leave behind and the things that I want to do, it's like, I got to put this work in, and I would write, from, the last piece that I did, I would write from 8 at night to 3 or, 5 in the morning. That was like my schedule. For everybody else. But that's the one thing that I said, that's my advantage, because guys are looking at it for, I want to be famous, or, I want to drive a nice car but while you're sleeping, I'm going to be working, so, like I listen to Will Smith a lot as well. And he says that, his father, told him and his brother to build a wall when they were younger, and they were like focusing on like, oh my God, we got to build this huge wall. But he said that if you lay down every brick as perfect as possible, eventually you will have a wall. So my day is dedicated to every day just trying to lay down a brick as perfectly as possible. And I know ultimately I'll achieve my goals. So I just try to be efficient and proficient as I can be in terms of getting things done, whether they're little or large, and that system is working for me, man. Just being efficient and getting things done, man. So I've achieved a certain level of success. Still got a lot more to go. I still look at myself as a star of an artist, keep me humble. I never want to lose sight of the goal to say, I'm writing, I'm doing this story, I'm writing for it. It's funny because a lot of people don't even know I write, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me jump in here because I want to give you a chance to promote who you are, allow us and our audience to support you, to uplift you, post you, tell their family, friends, etc. And also for you to shout out whoever, particularly, I know you got a little young lady in your life, your daughter, so we want to make sure we say hello to her. But tell us about how we can follow you, man, and where we can find you and all that great stuff.
Surprisingly,
and we got 1 minute. One.
I am on Instagram. I'm learning to. I'm not a huge social media person, social media personality.
You're busy working.
I'm definitely busy working, so I'm not a Facebook. I do understand the importance of Instagram. So there are some things I'm doing in that space of developing a website. I'm going to be working on my personal documentary soon. And
what's your handle on social so we can follow you?
Yeah, do you have a Twitter? You got to have a Twitter handle. I mean, you're a writer, so you got to have at least a Twitter handle.
No Twitter handle yet. It's I_create_as_I_speak_. I create as I speak, which is the flip side.
Hold on. That is your Instagram handle?
You got a lot going on now.
Yo, bro. Yeah, we got to Steve style edit that.
we definitely will get to the editing piece. Like I said, I'll be doing some revisions and some updates to all of those things because I have some upcoming films that I have coming out that I want to market. So I'll be getting you that information as well.
Yeah. Make sure you send that information to us. So and it gotta be. I mean, it gotta be at least no more than 3 syllables, bro.
Oh, I know. But you know what? That algorithm is created for a reason.
You gotta give it to us later. We gotta have you back, man. When you get your big next project, promise us you'll come back. We'll get to unpack how you came about it. Is that cool?
Yeah, I have 2 really, really huge projects that I'm working on now.
Okay.
They should. One should definitely be in production this year. Kind of keeping it under.
You got to keep it. I understand.
I'm in the entertainment industry. I understand, bro. But we got 10 seconds left. So once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We got Sam Washington doing his thing, screenwriter, coach, motivational speaker, and my man Kevin Carr with career crossover, Mr. Pro CEO. Go check out Kevin Carr every Thursday on IG Live, right? At Kevin Carr, or you can check him out at Pro the CEO, where we talk about Meet the Urge. We out.
All right.
And support Union Square Shoes, baby. Union Square Shoes.
All right.
And be on the lookout for some collaborations I have with the great Kevin Carr.
Yes, that's right. We got it going on here. Thank you, DJ Anna. Love you.
Oh, no, it's Bezel. It's
Bezel. What's up? All right, sorry. We down with you too, Bez. Peace.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Welcome. Thanks for coming on the show with you. And we're going to be coming back with more.
Well, definitely. I definitely want to come.
All right.